Indian Cultural Forum is proud to welcome Faustina Bama Susairaj, a wonderful writer from Tamil Nadu. Her first book, Karukku, which was autobiographical, was something of a milestone in feminist literature, in Dalit feminist literature. Bama, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you, Githa.
Bama, when we met all those years back, we were talking about Karukku, and let's revisit that for a moment. And what led you to write the autobiography? Tell us a little about yourself.
Yeah, it was in '92. You know that I entered a convent to become a nun in '85. Then I stayed there for 7 years, but I was not able to continue there because of the caste discrimination prevailed in the convent.
You'd actually joined the convent hoping to serve the Dalit community.
Yeah, because I was a teacher outside. I worked for 7 years. Then I resigned and went. I had a motive of teaching and giving awareness to Dalit girls. I chose that life because I knew that it has power and it has a lot of privileges also to meet and talk to girls, young girls. So with that hope I entered the convent, but that was not materialized because I was all the time asked to teach only English and mathematics, and so my dream was not materialized there, so I decided to come out. So in '92 I came out. That was the time I suffered the most in my life actually, because no job, no place to go to, no money, no food. I mean, even for next time meal I used to worry who will provide. Like
Bama, when your first book came out, because it was so much about the Paraya community, the village that you come from, there was a very harsh reaction, not only from, of course, the literary establishment, who felt that this language was not beautiful, but also from the community itself, who felt that you had exposed them in some way. Would you like to tell us about that? What was the how did the young people in the village manage to convince the others?
Yeah, that was least expected actually. From my own village people, I thought they will appreciate me, but on the contrary, they were upset, and they told me that I have shown them, the outside world, that their ugliness and their life. So why did you do that? I had betrayed them. That was the thing that felt, which I never intend to do actually. But there were youngsters, educated youngsters. They read the book, and one boy wrote a very good critique on that book, and he wrote and told me, "Don't worry now, but you don't," because they wanted to beat me actually. They went and fought with my parents. And my father was very angry with me and told me not to come to the house. So I was roaming around here and there. Then he told me, "Don't come now, but you wait for some time. We will read the book and we'll tell the people what is it about." Like, so what they did, they collected the people at night after their day's work under the street light, and they read the book. And they explained to them why and how I wrote that book, and they misunderstood actually and misinterpreted it. Then they came to know that their stories are read by many people, and their history is known to many people outside the village, and they were happy about it. Then he asked me to come to the village, and they took a very big function. They celebrated me like a princess, you know. Then they invited me to the village and a big festival.
So it was actually a process of their being confident enough to say, this is how our lives really are.
Yes,
And this is how, in particular, the women's lives really
Yeah,
are.
yeah.
And that actually leads me to ask, was part of the problem not just that you were talking about Dalit life, but also about Dalit women's lives, because of course women in a way are doubly exploited or discriminated against, first as Dalits and then as women. Was that part of the problem, do you think?
Yeah, not only doubly, thrice they are exploited actually. Caste, class and gender, religion also. So triple monsters, like, you know, they are realized it. Also they experience their strength, especially after my second book, you know, Sangadi. I have recorded their bravery acts, how they reacted and resisted against this oppressive system, which again reinforced, and they knew that they can protest against the system and live. And basically Dalit culture is it is loving to live. We want to live, but the system doesn't allow us to live. So the culture, which is a very vibrant culture, and they realized it. I mean, in spite of all the struggles and hardships and violence they face, we know that we are capable women. We have the strength to break through the system instead of breaking us down, and that gives us hope. So that way they began to celebrate their womanhood and militancy and life, and so there was a tremendous change after that.
Bama, that brings me to the question of since Karukku and Sangati, which was a wonderful collection of the kind of brave individuals you're talking of, and small gestures which allow people to say, look, I too can resist in this small way. I especially like the story of that old woman who is taken in a jeep along with other people to go and vote, and when she comes back, she's so gleeful, saying, well, I got a ride in that fancy jeep, but nobody knows who I voted for. So in addition to those, suppose we look at what you brought up, the fact that class, caste, gender, the three axes on which discrimination plays out. Your work since Karukku and your life since Karukku, in what ways would you say you have wanted to build alliances with other movements, or do you foreground the Dalit identity?
Yeah, these I gained strength from Dalit women, first of all, because whenever I face problems in life as a woman, especially as a Dalit woman, I learn from my sisters who are in the villages. I am privileged comparatively when they are able to face all these hardships and live life with much joy and enthusiasm. Why can't I? That is the source of energy for me. So with that I move forward, and when I mingle and meet with other women, I always share this with them, because I see for nothing at all women take away their life or finish their lives, or they lose hope in life, but I show them how life is beautiful and simple, and you can live life without holding or without having all kinds of this consumeristic values or attitudes, because life is not that. Real happiness is not there. Dalit women experience joy in hard labor, and they live life amidst their hardships and see that life is enjoyable with human relationships, human values. That humanistic approach gives you meaning and depth in life. That is the essential thing for our survival, not anything else.
And Bama, you spoke of Dalit women who, when they lose heart, so many have taken their lives, which actually brings us to what is happening in India right now, which is Dalit students unable to bear the burden of day-to-day discrimination, taking their lives. You've been a school teacher for so many years. You have set up a school for Dalit children. So this is, for us, certainly as women and as citizens, a very powerful issue. What message would you send to Dalit youth today, and in fact all Indian youth, about our idea of India and this age-old caste division which is simply not going away?
Yeah, this is really a very saddening thing to look at youth losing hope, and they are driven to that extent to take away their life, or to not unable to face the problems, and they damage themselves. I feel very sad about it. But what I think is, we need to root in our own soil and culture first of all, and though thousands of obstacles may come on our way, but still there is hope beyond hope. And instead of breaking our own life or ourselves, we need to break through this system.
Absolutely.
We
And
have
your own
the
title,
courage.
Karukku, which is the serrated edges of the palm leaf.
The one side is in the name of caste.
Yes.
The society cuts us, we bleed, we die. But on the other side, there is the other sharp edges, which we have to use our knowledge, our capacity to cut through the system instead of cutting our own selves. So that is essential. Now the youth they are forgetting their roots. One thing is, in the higher education, not only in universities, Githa, you begin in the schools itself, in the village schools itself. There is discrimination. Teachers discriminate young children, and they treat them differently. And educational authorities, they show partiality. So it starts there. So the children have to face this discrimination, and their psychology is actually spoiled, and they don't know, they don't get that affirmation, positive affirmation they ought to get. And as children, they are really struggling. Looking at their own equal partners in the school, they enjoy life, whereas they are treated in a different way. They experience that. So it is a very painful thing. It begins there, and it is accumulated in the high school, in higher studies, in universities. In a very subtle way, it is shown there. So we need to be aware of all these things, and collect. And again, and this Dalit culture is a collective culture. That groupism, not groupism in the sense you are together. Even in the villages, you find strength in one another, that togetherness.
Absolutely. So if I can actually build on that to ask you one last question, which is, you have this very powerful image of cutting through the system which discriminates from the child to the old woman. What, in practical terms, in terms of political strategy, do you think would work? Because the caste movement has had many splinters, has had many movements, as you put it. The young, in a way, have forgotten the soil they come from. So should we read that to understand that there has to be a reassertion of Dalit identity, or should it be moving beyond identity politics to mass movement? Because in a way, Rohith died because of the university not allowing him the right to disagree, the right to question, the right to dissent. So what would you suggest as a strategy?
See, as long as we live a passive life, everybody is okay, everything is okay. But when you begin to question, when you begin to argue, you claim your right to be human, not anything else.
And your constitutional right.
Yes, constitutional right that I am a human person, then everybody agitates that you are not human, they want to suppress us. So that is the thing. So what I think is that we need to retain this Dalit identity and you go for, you mingle with other like-minded,
build on the Dalit identity and
like-minded
ally with
people,
other people
who respect you as a person. Because we can't really go and request or beg with people who don't really accept you as a human person. So there are people who really consider you or respect you as you are a person like me. So like-minded people, like-minded organization, like-minded movements, then we join together, then
yes, an alliance of
yes,
equals.
Yeah, and Ambedkar says, no, another thing is we need to equip ourselves, educate, organize and agitate. Yes. So we need to equip our own selves to fight against this, and standing firmly on that idea, then we can extend our solidarity with other groups, other movements, and fight for everybody's equality, fraternity and freedom. Ultimately we are born to be free, to live a free, to be free persons with equal respect and dignity. So we want to recognize that, and whenever we see that, we respect that human dignity in others, and we expect the other to respect us also as human person with equal respect and dignity, human dignity.
Bama, you have actually pointed out some very powerful guidelines. One is about all of us being born to be free, regardless of gender, caste and community. You've also recalled for us Ambedkar's call to educate, organize and agitate. I think we should leave it with that. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.